He's the lead singer of one of the best 80s bands that I know here in Southern California, Mr. Stephen Pearcy of Ratt. Stephen, how we doing, my friend?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Exactly, Stephen. Now, I know you grew up in Southern California, San Diego area, and when you were growing up, Stephen, is it right that you really wanted to be a Top Fuel drag car racer?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Los Angeles first, and that's where I got into the racing as a kid and became a pit crew member. Moved to San Diego in '71, and then all hell broke loose, and that was the end of those dreams. But, yeah, L.A., Southern California, pretty much a cement, asphalt kind of kid, surf guy, into drag racing.
Okay, and Stephen, was there like a bad bike accident that you had that kind of derailed you from doing that?
Yeah, matter of fact, I was going to hopefully start getting tuned up to drive, be one of the youngest drivers. It was my dream, and when I moved to San Diego, the first year that happened, and broke both the legs, and the big stories in the book, and kind of sidetracked me, but it did introduce me to the guitar, which ended up turning into this monster Ratt I created.
Absolutely, man. One of my personal favorite bands, Stephen, growing up here in Southern California myself, I listened to you guys religiously on KNAC, Pirate Radio. I mean, you pretty much name it. And how did you meet up with the guys that would soon become the band Ratt? I know there was a different lineup with the Mickey Ratt Band, and then it became Ratt, correct?
Yeah, I had a revolving door. I mean, whatever it took to keep me, out there playing and stuff, because Mickey Ratt was actually becoming a huge band, San Diego, and until I came up to L.A. and met Van Halen in '78 as they were finishing their first record or close to doing it, went through a few lineups. Jakey Lee was the last lead guitar player known, and a couple of the rough cut guys before Robin's band fell apart. They moved to San Diego. His band imploded, and he used to always jam with us and Jake when Jakey was in the band. And when Jakey pulled out to do Dio, which ended up being Ozzy, me and Robin were both left without band members, and we decided to put a band, put Ratt together.
Yeah, very cool, man. And then you guys did move up here to the LA scene, and how did you? I mean, you guys were playing clubs like the Rainbow, and how did you guys come up with that first recording, the single Dr. Rock?
Well, Dr. Rock was actually Mickey Ratt stuff. The original Ratt, as we know it, the first recording we did was Tell the World on Metal Massacre, and it wasn't the original guys. It was when we became a house band at the Whiskey, and we met our soon-to-be manager, Marshall Burrow. Said, you guys need to record a record, and we're like, okay, that's easier said than done. Everybody else was getting signed because it was the Uz Festival era. Motley was breaking, Priest was happening, Maiden was happening, all these bands, and Van Halen was full bloom, and we just did the EP. Went in and did the EP in one day, recorded it, mixed it the next, and we were off and running, playing shows, and, had a showcase a couple months later, and President of Atlantic Records said, how would you like to be signed to Atlantic Records? And we went, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, we would be happy to.
And the Ratt EP, Stephen, is a great recording in my personal opinion, and it included the rocker "You Think You're Tough," and you and Robin Crosby wrote that tune together, correct?
Yeah. Just one of those songs, and they were playing it on KLOS, KMET, and the record ended up doing some big numbers as the EP, and it got us noticed, and we were off and running.
Yeah, and I heard that Tawny Kitane's leg is on that EP, and plus she's on Out of the Cellar?
That was Robin's girlfriend at the time, his high school girl, and she had moved up to pursue acting, so we borrowed her leg and her body.
I love it, man. In 1984, Ratt was signed to what you were talking about earlier, the major record label Atlantic Records, and Out of the Cellar album was invented. And the music video for Round and Round with Milton Berle, how in the world did that music video all come about?
It was interesting. Marshall Berle, his uncle was Milton Berle, and he just had this idea, because we produced our own videos per se, and he suggested a tongue-in-cheek thing that if he got Milton, we'd let him do what he wanted, and we went, yeah, sure. He kind of just went in there and took over from Don Letts, who was directing, the guy from Audio Dynamite, and Milton Berle just kind of went in there and took over, and we thought it was kind of cool. You know, it was the first introduction to, like, okay, action, you know, and now you got to put on the acting hat all of a sudden. So beginning of the video age, and it was all new and, you know, exciting and no regrets. You know, we kept the tongue-in-cheek thing going. You know, we didn't want to be all, you know, heavy metal and horns and this and that, so we kept it light, and it worked.
During the summer months of 1985, Ratt was everywhere, I mean, internationally, and especially with the new release that you guys had that summer, Invasion of Your Privacy, and the tune, Lay It Down. Love that rockin' tune.
Yeah, well, you know, we have plenty of songs. It's one thing we do have because the majority of it's right. You know, we had more than enough music, and we just lay it down, so to speak, and whatever happens, happens. You know, we don't think about it. We just write the best music possible. You know, it's like right now we've been trying to get a new record started, and Warren and I have been writing songs, and things are happening. So hopefully we'll have a record out soon enough, because the station did pretty good. It did about 150,000, and not bad for this day and age, and so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And Steve, talking about festivals and being out there in the live crowds and everything, what was that experience like for you personally to be a part of the Monsters of Rock Festival that you guys played many, many times?
Wow. Well, you know what? I mean, I still get a kick out of playing. And, you know, the band's been rehearsing. We're real tight. We've got a lot of songs, and I'll continue to get out there and yell at people. And the day that I get tired of it, you know, I'll walk off and say I know what I did. You know, I did okay. So, but we're having a good time. You know, I still enjoy it. You know, it's people still come in droves. You know, it's very cool.
Dancing Undercover was another huge successful album for the band. And where did you guys were kind of going for maybe a harder sound with like the tracks like Body Talk?
Yeah, you know, the Dancing was much more of an aggressive record. We didn't want to get into the system of layering and overdubs, and so we kind of tightened it up on that. I consider it as a loosely tight band. I like that record. You know, Body Talk's one of my favorite songs.
While we're talking about Body Talk, what was the inspiration for you guys? You know, I know it had to do with females and sex, I'm sure, but was there a certain chick in mind that you wrote Body Talk after?
No, you know, it's the book. You know, I just released my first book, and actually, it's just experience, man. You know, I mean, you know, you get handed the platinum debauchery card, and I pretty much just use it up, and that's what I write about.
I love Body Talk. It's one of my personal favorite songs you guys have ever done. I play drums, so it's a great drum track to play. The third track on the studio album, Reach for the Sky, was a track called Way Cool Jr. And Steven, I got to tell you, I heard different stories about who that was really written about. Was it really written about anybody, or what was the background on Way Cool Jr.?
Well, no, you know, Warren came up with this cool riff, and, you know, it's ironic. I was just talking about that song the other day because the director, there were so many girls in that video, the director didn't even want the band around when he filmed those parts because we would have disturbed the program. But it wasn't written about anybody in particular. It was written about your average Joe, you know. Everybody's way cool, you know.
Okay, and just off the record, Steven, I heard it was written about. I heard from a couple sources. You know, this shit that they put out in journalism isn't always true, so it's always good to get the facts. But I mean, I've heard from different sources that it was about Elvis.
No, not at all.
Okay,
you know, it was just written about. You know, it could be anybody. It could be you. It could be me. It could be your neighbor, whoever thinks they're way cool. You know, and that was the premise of it, you know, except, you know, we threw in a guitar slinger kind of a thing, you know, guitar across my back and all that.
Right.
I mean, you know, if anybody gets a chance to pick up my book, not to put it out there, but The Sex, Drugs, Rat and Roll, there's some good stories in there. And, you know, it would take 10 books to write, you know, the 30 years next year of us together.
Right.
And in our own dysfunctional way. But, we made it. So far, so good. We've got the 4 original remaining members and Carlos Cavazzo on guitar. We're still kicking, having a good time, and as long as we still enjoy, it's the music that keeps us coming back,
Right.
regardless of anything else. And, we'll keep going round and round, man.
And Stephen, did you personally feel that the studio album Detonator kind of sounded different from the previous albums, just simply because you guys were working with a different producer at that point?
Detonator. Yeah, Detonator was interesting. We had a whole other producer and Desmond, I believe, Child. I mean, we just went into total crazy situation with that record. But oh no, matter of fact, that was Mike Stone, I believe.
Desmond Child is what I wrote. I mean, they might have done it together. I don't know.
No, you know what? Reach for the Sky was Mike Stone.
Right.
Detonator, I believe, was Desmond and Payson. We went in the studio and just did the same thing. Sometimes we knock out a record in 2-3 months. Sometimes it takes a year, and hopefully the last one won't take another 10 years.
Now, Stephen, what are you personally working on yourself on your projects, and what is the band currently working on these days?
Well, the band's, after Infestation, we didn't really tour that like we wanted to, but we're working on music for the new record. Warren and I have been cutting some tracks. Actually, we just did a demo of this one song of idea of his he had that's totally amazing, different, and hopefully we can get started on that. I mean, we're not going to overload the dates this year. We're just doing sporadic dates and festivals and this and that, and handful of dates, and then hopefully get started on the record and have it out for our 30th year anniversary.
Absolutely, man. And the new book, Sex, Drugs, and Ratt and Roll, where can they get that, Stephen?
It's on Simon Schuster, so it's available anywhere. My site's being reworked now, but it's out there. Just Google it or whatever, and it'll take you.
Yeah, Stephen, I hear it's a dynamite book, so I'm going to go get a copy of it this week. For more information on Stephen Pearcy, go to StephenPearcy.com. For the tour dates, go to rattpack.com. That's RATT pack.com. Stephen Pearcy of Ratt, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.